deal with it. Most karmic patterns start from a very young age. We relate to these patterns from a toxic or emotionally unavailable parent. So, the lack of nourishment in your childhood makes you confused about what genuine love and care is. In a karmic relationship, you can try 100 times explaining, offering support to that one person, make them understand this toxic pattern and the emotional unavailability of the other person. You will not be able to break that relationship because it is there for a particular purpose. It is easier to run away from a life that you don't like, but it's difficult to build a life that you love. Namaskar. My name is Raj, and I welcome you to my YouTube channel, Seeking Raj. The topic for today's podcast is karmic relationships. When a karmic bond is made, it represents patterns that bring out our compulsive, toxic behavior, which affects our relationships and spiritual progress. Before we are born, we decide which karmic pattern we will address in this life. And then we decide people from our spiritual group who will help us recognize this pattern and then deal with it. Most karmic patterns start from a very young age. We relate to these patterns from a toxic or emotionally unavailable parent. So, the lack of nourishment in your childhood makes you confused about what genuine love and care is. Now, if a person comes into your life and offers genuine love and care, you would always be confused and you will always try to put that person in multiple tests and drive them away. As you do not recognize that behavior, you are not used to such genuine concern and you always think that there is something behind it and something might come up later that you will end up getting hurt. But on the other hand, if a person with toxic or narcissistic traits comes into your life, that behavior is very similar to something that people have experienced in their childhood, or they have felt that lack of emotional commitment or emotional availability from the person, and they know how to navigate or to live out that situation. So that becomes a very comfortable zone for them, but not for very long. Because as human beings, we cannot run relationships without genuine love, care, and affection. So, this kind of a relationship will become toxic as you grow in this relationship, and you will not feel any sort of connection with the person after a while, and you would want out. But as soon as you try to break this relationship, you are so scared of what is beyond this relationship that you always want to come back to this toxic pattern because you are so familiar with it that even if you're going through a very tough phase emotionally or any other way, you are still in unknown territory. So anything that is not known to you and somebody offers that to you, you will reject it multiple number of times and try to go back to the same equation. This is what a karmic relationship is. In a karmic relationship, you can try 100 times explaining, offering support to that one person, make them understand this toxic pattern and the emotional unavailability of the other person. You will not be able to break that relationship because it is there for a particular purpose, and this person, unless they raise their vibrations, they value themselves, they work on themselves, they will never be able to come out of this karmic relationship. The two major planets, Sun and the Moon. Sun represents our ego, our confidence. Moon represents emotional nourishment. Both these things we get from our parents. Sun represents father and moon represents our mother. If one of these traits was not given to you as a child, then that becomes a pattern in your life and you keep chasing that. So, for example, if you're not emotionally nourished in your childhood, then you would run after a partner or a situation and seek emotional nourishment in a relationship. Now, to get that emotional nourishment, you would become very demanding emotionally, and you get into karmic relationships where your partner would constantly complain you to be emotionally demanding and would pick up fights or lie to occasionally detach from you so that he doesn't have to provide for you emotionally for some time because it gets too much for him or her. So if your partner empties out giving you emotional comfort for a long time, and you are constantly demanding that partner would pull back, go towards their family, friends, or their comfort zone, where they would also seek emotional comfort from someone else, because you are not going to provide them as you are constantly demanding that. This becomes another kind of a karmic relationship where one person is chasing the other person for emotional comfort, and the other person is running away because now his cups are empty and he needs nourishment for himself or herself. Once we understand that we have these toxic patterns through our response to various situations in a relationship, we would finally realize that our actions or our behavior bring out this reaction in our partners. And it is us who needs that correction or need to work on that trait so that it doesn't become so heavy on their partners and they try to behave in the same way. Some people might take some time to behave in this way as they might be patient, but eventually everybody would behave in this way. There are a lot of spiritual practices starting from Kriya Yoga, meditation, chakra cleansing. All these techniques are designed specifically to address certain toxic patterns and bring them out on the surface and finally deal with them and release them forever. These toxic patterns are not just stored in our brain, they are stored in every part of our body. As I explained in my video about various types of memories, this is Manas, where every cell has got a storehouse, it has got a memory, and it is storing certain patterns. So eventually, you learn to blame partners and not the trait that is driving that behavior out of them. Break up soon, look for a newer partner. But since you are in the same energy, same vibration, you would attract a similar partner with similar traits. And that person might be different, might be a little patient, but you will bring that trait out of them and end up with the same result. You can only delay this, but you cannot avoid it. It becomes a pattern that needs to be addressed. So rather than running away from this situation, where after a while your partner behaves in a certain way, you want to address it and make things better now. Because you must remember, it is easier to run away from a life that you don't like, but it's difficult to build a life that you love. So, yes, it will take a lot of effort. You will need spiritual correction. You might need to speak to certain people about this pattern, and you would eventually have to come out of it by raising your vibrations, which we will understand in subsequent episodes. So rather than attracting similar partners and running away from them, you should focus on healing yourself and build a life which you don't want to run away from. In the next episode, we talk about different karmic patterns and stories around them. My name is Raj, and you were watching Seeking Raj. Namaskar.